everyone, welcome to another Ultimate Fighter episode review. This is for Season 30, Episode 8, titled Make It Ugly. We don't really have a whole lot to go through for this one, about the usual. We got a couple of pleasant surprises though, so let's try and get through this quick. We start with the aftermath of the last fight. All the fighters are back at the TUF house, and Chandler is having a good talk with Jordan and Zach from Team Pena. Obviously Chandler's on Team Nunes, and Zach was commenting how he didn't expect the whole spinning back kick thing from him, neither did Bobby Maximus. They're all quite impressed by it, and Chandler was still disappointed in his loss, but yeah, he got some good compliments from it. Like, he was compared to Chris Barnett and called his cousin, and then Chandler corrected whoever said it by saying, "No, I'm his uncle." So that made me laugh. And then they're talking about, they bring up Kung Fu Panda and compare Chandler to that, and Zach says that should totally be your fighter nickname, and Chandler says no, it's still going to be the Hammer. And I'm like, why? Be the Kung Fu Panda. That's a fucking brilliant nickname for someone like your size, you know? And especially considering what you can do in the cage. I will call him Kung Fu Panda. I don't give a shit. That's a fucking great name. In fact, I'm very surprised that no heavyweight fighter has gone by that nickname yet, but hey, if I ever take up MMA, you know, I'm a pretty big dude. If I can get in decent enough shape, I will go by the Kung Fu Panda. I'm not even kidding. We then go from that to Brogan's knee. Now, she did have a couple of issues with it a few weeks ago, but it seems mostly okay now. She hasn't put too much strain or torque on it, and she goes to a therapist to get it looked at, and her knee appears to be completely fine. It's not really brought up as an issue after this, actually, and it wasn't really brought up as much of an issue after the episode a few weeks ago, when she first pulled something in it. And the doctor did warn her pretty sternly that she couldn't work too hard because she would put strain on it, and it was a much bigger warning than the doctor gave Chandler Cole, who injured his elbow, you know? I just found that a bit strange, but I wanted to bring it up anyway, and Brogan's knee is completely fine, so she is ready for the fight, but we still have things to talk about before we actually get to the fight. We're going to talk about the training for the fighters now. So for Brogan, it's mostly focused on striking and to try and counter Hannah's wrestling, which is a bit better than Brogan's is, but Brogan has the experience edge, and she's utilising her striking quite well. She's a very unique striker as well, because she's a southpaw, but she fights with the right hand, and it's quite a unique style. But John Wood, who is one of the coaches on Team Nunes and one of my favourite coaches to just watch, is having so much fun teaching Brogan all this stuff, and I love seeing the smile on the dude's face, because he's actually given a really good praise, but also giving a great advice. He's not, being over-complimentary of it, he's just telling her how great of a job she's doing, and you need coaches like that, and it's part of the reason why I like John Wood so much as coach, and I wish he were in more seasons of The Ultimate Fighter. But that's basically the game plan for Brogan: work on the striking, counter the wrestling if need be, and try and keep it standing. For Hannah, for Team Pena, well, one thing that they introduce is a person. So it's a good old boy, a good old friend from Season 29, Brady Heaston, who was one of the competitors on Season 29. And even though he didn't win it, he was one of my picks to win it, and he came pretty far, and he's a pretty understanding and nice dude. So it's cool to have someone like him on Team Pena and actually helping with the whole team, basically. But Hannah's game plan, for the most part, is the wrestling. She's going to try and utilise the striking to go in for the wrestling, try and go for the takedowns, and she's got some pretty good jiu-jitsu as well, so if she can take it to the ground and get a good choke, I mean, she's got a chance. I think there was even a moment where she was, choking someone during sparring, and the person she was choking, I think it was one of the other females, had, their face was turning purple, and I was actually a bit concerned for them, because I was like, it's just training, you don't have to go that hard. But still, pretty good training ideas for both of them, pretty good interest, pretty interesting contrasts and styles, and I like the fact that they brought in someone from the last season to come along and help. It's one of my favourite things to see when it comes to training parts, is, seeing veterans from previous seasons come back and help a little bit, so it was very nice to see it done here. And of course, after that, we have the videos and background. So Brogan was born in California, but she moved to Guam in 2010 and started teaching, actually. She was actually a very, very well-educated teacher, and she taught there for 10 years before moving back to California in 2020 and taking up MMA again, because she took it up before she moved to Guam. And yeah, she's picked up another interest in it again, and she wants to go back to teaching if this whole MMA thing falls through. And I think it's good to have a plan like that, especially if you're someone who appears to be quite good at that job. And for Hannah, she's actually, I don't know if she has a job per se. She lives in an ambulance that's connected to a Ford truck, and she lives with a boyfriend, and they train at an MMA place. And there's not really much else I could think of. Yeah, Hannah just comes across as a really nice person, as does Brogan. I think Hannah even more so. I think it might just be the country girl edge that I am a sucker for when it comes to American girls. It just does something to me. You know, it's just a nice accent to listen to. It's not too strong on Hannah, but it's present, and yeah, she just seems like a really nice person. And now we have the fight, and Brogan is taking the lead early. She's bouncing around quite well, which is a good sign that her leg is not as damaged as everyone thought it would be going in. She's countering a lot of Hannah's entrances. She's landing some really good shots. There's a great left hook she lands, which really wobbles Hannah, and she's looking a bit like uncertain. And then there's a moment where Hannah has pressed Brogan against the cage, and she tries to land a combo, but Brogan lands a great counter right hook, and then knocks Hannah down, and she goes for like grappling, a bit of jiu-jitsu on the ground, and tries to keep her down, and mostly succeeds, but Hannah does manage to get back up eventually. And for the most part in the time between as well, Hannah's striking is okay. She's landed a good couple of jabs here and there, but Brogan's is a lot better. She's landed the bigger shots. She's landed some really good stuff to the body as well. Just countering really, really nicely. And just outlanding Hannah. And I give round one pretty much entirely to Brogan. I did not think that she would have that much power either, because goddamn, she landed some really heavy stuff on Hannah. But yeah, round one goes to Brogan. Just controlled it, pretty much the entirety of it. Got a good knockdown, got some really big shots in the time between as well. Hannah landed well enough with the striking, didn't really set a lot of stuff up. Also, Brogan landed some solid leg kicks too, so yeah, there's that. But round one, Brogan. We then get to round two, and quite early on, even though they do touch gloves, which they didn't do at the start of round one, a striking exchange happens, and Brogan knocks Hannah down again with another sharp right hook. Hannah does eventually get back up, manages to recover quite well. And then they go for more strikes. Brogan lands a good body shot and then puts Hannah against the cage and keeps control there for a good couple of minutes. Not a lot of work is being done, and Hannah is trying to counter it, and Hannah is even trying to sort of turn it into a takedown. Doesn't fully succeed immediately, but Brogan has her against the cage and has landed a really good shot. And then with about a minute and 34 seconds left of round one, Hannah manages to secure a takedown. Brogan almost gets back up, but Hannah manages to secure it and eventually gets the back and takes it, and looks like she sinks in a rear naked choke with about a minute 30 seconds left in the fight, and she's landing some really good stuff. She's landing some really good ground pounds. She gets a mean looking body triangle in, isn't fully able to lock her hands around Brogan's neck though, and Brogan is fighting the hands quite well, defending extremely intelligently, which I do have to appreciate, because a lot of fighters in that position won't be able to overcome the sudden shock. So Brogan really fought that intelligently, and she was smart about it, and for the most part, yeah, Hannah did have control near the end of the round. And I give round two to Brogan, but here's where the most interesting part comes in. So it does go to decision, and Brogan wins by majority decision. But a lot of people, pretty much everyone there, on both sides, thought that it should have gone to a third. I don't. I think Brogan did more than enough to win the fight. I think she had control for about, 7 minutes of a 10-minute fight, and I would consider that a majority of the fight. I think Brogan did a lot better. Her striking was a lot more on point. Yeah, she was taken down near the end of round one, and she was in a submission, but she didn't tap. She didn't fully lose, and she wasn't in danger in a striking sense. She was actually quite good. She was a lot better than Hannah at the striking. I don't know. I don't think Hannah did enough. I don't think Hannah could do enough with 3 minutes to counter the amazing work that Brogan did for 7. So yeah, I don't see why it should have gone to a third round. Last week's fight absolutely should have. This week's fight shouldn't have, and it didn't, which is... last week's fight shouldn't have gone to a third round, and this fight shouldn't have either. And this one didn't, but last week's did. So I'm really glad about that, and glad we got a defensive winner, and Brogan moves on to the semis. And normally I would do the air try and whatnot right now, but with it being close to the semis, a couple of decisions had to be made. Those decisions being who's going to fight whom when it comes to the semi-finals. So these are the fights that they have, and I hope I've gotten them all correctly off the top of my head. So, from Team Pena, Jordan Hederman and Zach Pogo are going to fight each other. We've got Muhammad Usman from Team Pena versus Eduardo Perez from Team Nunes. I'll just use the one-finger system. It's always the best system. Don't know what the fuck I'm on about. We have Caitlin Neal versus Juliana Miller. Caitlin from Team Nunes and Juliana from Team Pena. And finally, do that, it's a lot easier. We have Brogan from Team Nunes versus Laura Gallardo from Team Pena. So those are the fights we're going to be getting. I don't know what the actual next fight is, but considering that we've gone boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boing, 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 it's probably going to be a fight between two of the dudes. Although, one thing I do know next week is that we get the Coaches Challenge, and it appears to be axe throwing. I'm looking forward to that. It's, I always look forward to the Coaches Challenges, so it's going to be a fun episode next week. I'm praying. And that'll about do it. I'll see you all tomorrow for another episode of Music of the Week. Can't really think of much else to add or say, so I'll see you for that. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.